You know, I was someone born at the tail end of the 90s, yet I always had a fascination with things before my time. Namely games and movies from around a decade or two before I was even a twinkle in my papa's eye. Now, I do have nostalgia, lots of nostalgia for the 2000s, but I was always someone that appreciated what came before me. Anyway, I digress. Around Christmas of 2024, I watched Die Hard for the first time, and I enjoyed it a lot. It was a very well done movie, and none of the characters felt like meatheads or idiots, whether it was John McClane or Hans Gruber and his men. Yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie, and I will stand by that with folks that do believe it. Point is, after I watched the Die Hard movie, I played the Die Hard game on the NES not too long after. At first, it was a game that eluded me, and I found myself getting frustrated and confused at what I was doing. I'll cut the suspense. My earliest exposure to this game was from the Angry Video Game Nerd's review of this game. That's how I was aware of it in the first place.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!
So, going into it, I already registered it as a bad game, or at the very least, not a very good one. However, upon playing more of it, even reading the manual, I actually ended up liking the game a lot, to the point where I personally have it in my top 10 favorite NES games. On that note, I feel like I have to say, this game is so damn underrated, or at the very least, very misunderstood. The development of this game, I couldn't find much on, but what I can say is that this game was actually published by Activision of all companies. Immediately, that would probably paint some red flags, but this was 80s Activision, so they were still pretty good. The game was released in 1990, which means that they, at most, took 2 years to make this game, while Die Hard was easily one of the most successful movies to come out of the 80s, being only the 7th highest grossing movie in 1988, right behind movies like Big, Coming to America, and Who Framed Roger Rabbit, just to name a few. Alright, so, let's dissect this game. To understand Die Hard, you gotta understand where you are, and who you're up against. When you start the game, you're given two difficulty options, beginner and advanced. In beginner, most enemies go down with one shot of your gun, and you always spawn on the 32nd floor. While on advanced, you spawn on a random floor between 31 and 34, and all the enemies take multiple shots. Until you're confident in your capabilities, I would advise staying away from advanced until you can, at the very least, get through the majority of the game without taking much damage, if any. The fact that you're on the 32nd floor might give the impression you have over 30 floors to explore, when that's not really the case. You only have access to 7, technically 8 floors of the Nakatomi Tower, but you cannot access the 30th floor until the end of the game. You, of course, play as John McClane, who was expertly played by Bruce Willis, a police officer from New York who pays his recently divorced wife, Holly, played by Bonnie Bedelia, a visit at the Nakatomi Tower. However, the Christmas Eve party is then sabotaged and thrown into chaos as Hans Gruber, played by Alan Rickman, and several of his henchmen raid the Nakatomi Tower to steal millions of dollars from the vault, all the while holding the partygoers hostage. However, they did not consider Johnny Boy, who manages to evade, elude, and eventually defeat them. This game takes place roughly around the time they start their raid, as Hans isn't aware of your existence until you start taking down his boys. There are over 40 men, counting Hans, in the building, and you are on a time limit to take them all out before they take the money and get away scot-free. I'll explain the time limit later, don't worry. Now let's talk about the floors. As stated before, there are 8 floors, but only 7 you can access. These are the 31st, 32nd, 33rd, 34th, 35th, the rooftop and helipad, and the 4th floor. The 4th floor requires a certain amount of time to pass before you can access it, and even then, you need explosives in order to access the elevator. There are 3 ways to traverse between floors. You can either use the stairs, the elevator, or the vents. But the vents only take you to certain floors, and I would only recommend the vents if you're evading the henchmen, especially on advanced, and you need a quick getaway. The vents are usually identified with a blinking tile on certain walls that says here, here, and here. Let's talk about the characters now. Gonna kick this off with the man of the hour, John McClane. He is the only character you play as in the game, and you have access to 5 means of attacks: shooting, punching, using a fire axe, C4, or throwing flash grenades. There are only 2 guns in the game, pistols and machine guns. You start off with a simple handgun, but sooner or later, you'll get access to a machine gun. You are able to use your fists when you run out of ammo, same goes for the fire axe. There are certain spots on floor that if you punch them and you have no gun on you, you'll get a fire axe. Like the vents, I only recommend it if you're desperate. Now, if you were paying attention, I mentioned machine guns, C4, and flash grenades, but you don't start off the game with them. So how do you get them? Well, this is where we start talking about the enemies. There are two normal enemy types in the game, ones that wear green and ones that wear blue. The green henchmen usually have weapon ammo and flash grenades, and the blue henchmen are the ones that possess walkie-talkies, machine guns, ammos, and flash grenades, and will drop them when defeated. The floors in this game can get pretty dark, meaning you can't see around corners, and it'll be hard to tell if there are bad guys on the same floor as you. However, there is a fairly consistent way to identify if there are Hans' henchmen on the same floor as you. Simply put, listen to their footsteps. If you hear that, that means that there is a guy on the same floor nearby for you to take out. But wait a minute. If you were paying attention to what I've been saying, you might be asking, what about C4? Well, that's where things start to get a little bit complicated. Every enemy is unique. I mean it. To access the rooftop, you need to get a key, but only one of the blue henchmen have it, and it will always be the same guy. He will either spawn in a closed room that you need to shoot through, or he will spawn behind you when you try to access the roof door. Either way, he will always be on the 35th floor. As for the C4, there are multiple C4s scattered all throughout the Nakatomi Tower, but in order to use the C4, you need a detonator. If you watch the movie, you know the C4 detonator is in possession of Heinrich, and that very much applies here. Heinrich only spawns when a certain amount of time passes, and he will go to the 31st floor via elevator. If you have a walkie-talkie on you, you can hear, or, well, read, Hans telling Heinrich to investigate the 31st floor. For the early game, Hans will always tell his men to investigate certain floors, and early on, this is the best way to figure out who's where. Speaking of Hans, there are two special enemies, Hans himself and Carl. Carl is effectively the only mini-boss of the game, and it's very likely he will be the last henchman you take out before facing against Hans. Speaking of Hans, you can only battle him on the 30th floor, making him the game's only boss. Carl and Hans are the only enemies that, no matter the difficulty, they will take multiple hits from your weapons. However, for Hans, you are only able to fight him with your handgun. Once he's taken out, you win and the game's over. Last but not least, Officer Carl Winslow, Owl Pal. He doesn't visually show up in game. Like the movie, you're only able to communicate with him through the radio. The only way to interact with him is to get to the rooftop as quickly as you can. Once you make it onto the rooftop with a radio, John will call for help. Afterwards, you'll hear this sound in the game, meaning that Al has arrived and he says that he will help you as much as he can, namely telling you where henchmen can be found on what floor and what specific part of it. Other than that, he shows up in the ending of the game. Now that we got the roll call out of the way, the next thing to note is your health and foot power. Foot power is essentially stamina by another name, and as such, I will be calling it that for simplicity. Your health is a very delicate thing. Something I want to emphasize is that in order to get good at Die Hard, you have to treat it like a survival game. So don't get careless with your health. You are not Bill or Lance from Contra. The best way to deal with Hans' men is to basically be nimble, quick, and don't feel bad about running away if it means surviving. And always try to find soda pop cans, as they are the only way of recovering your health. Foot power, or stamina meanwhile, is just as invaluable. But unlike the health, recovery items for your stamina are much more limited, but can be found reliably on the 31st floor, behind these doors on the 33rd floor, which you need C4 to access both, and near the elevator here on the 34th floor. There is one more spot where you can find health and stamina recovery, but I'll bring that up later. Also, don't walk on shattered glass. They'll drain your stamina fast. While your stamina takes a while to drain, walking on glass will make it go down significantly quicker. Okay, now the final thing to bring up. The time limit. Like in the movie, Hans, with the help of Theo, will try to open the vault of the Nakatomi Tower in order to steal $640 million. Despite there being a time limit, there is no pressure, as Theo only takes 4 minutes to deactivate each lock, which there are 6 in total, plus the vault itself, and them needing to get away with the money. Meaning you have roughly 32 minutes to defeat all of Hans' men and Hans himself on the 30th floor. Each time a lock is deactivated, this sound will play. Only certain events will trigger depending on how many locks have been breached, and these are the ones I found personally. If you make it to the rooftop and reach these specific stairs before the second lock is broken, you'll call for Al Powell. Sometime after the first lock is broken, but before the second lock is broken, Heinrich will spawn on the 31st floor with the C4 detonator. When the second lock is broken, Hans will catch on to you using the radio and will tell Theo and his men to switch to a different frequency. After this point, you won't be able to hear Hans telling his men to go to certain floors. But if you manage to get into contact with Al, he'll do it instead. When the third lock is broken, you'll be able to access the 4th floor by hacking into a terminal near a special elevator on the 33rd floor. When the vault door is broken through, you are given 4 minutes to take out the remaining bad guys and Hans himself before they get away and you lose the game. Regardless of how much time you have, if or when you take out the final henchman, the final countdown will automatically start, as it's pretty much the game's way of saying it's time to wrap things up. Also, when the final countdown starts, an 8-bit rendition of Ode to Joy plays for 30 seconds. I always thought that was cute. One quick thing about the time limit is that it is, to an extent, tied to your stamina. The lower your stamina, the faster the timer will go down when you go up and down the stairs. Minutes can easily drain if you don't maintain your stamina. But again, only 32 minutes. So my only advice on that front is to keep your feet healthy, stay healthy, and take out Hans and his men. So to recap, here are the things you must do. Step 1. Take out a blue henchman to get his gun and radio. Step 2. Rush to the 35th floor to get the key to the rooftop. Step 3. Call for the police. Step 4. Wait for Heinrich to spawn on the 31st floor to take the detonator from him. Step 5. Destroy their computer on the 4th floor, which is optional. Step 6. Kill as many baddies as you can. Step 7. When the final countdown begins, go to the 30th floor to confront Carl and Hans. And Step 8. Beat the game! Alright, I think I've dialed it enough. Now it's time to play the game and put all this knowledge to the test. Alright, here we go. Die Hard on the NES. As I said, the advanced mode is, well, it would not be recommended for beginners. If you're playing this game for the first time, I would highly suggest playing beginner mode first. Anyway, there's a green guy, we took him out, but he didn't drop what we need. To start things off, I think I want to get the best possible ending. It's the hardest ending to get, naturally. But once you know what to do, it's relatively simple. Get over here. There we go. And you heard a guy coming in on the elevator, so we're just gonna take him out just like that. And while we're at it, we might as well ride the elevator to the 34th floor. Just to save a little bit of time. Guy right there! There's another guy. There's usually 2 guys on this floor, initially. Alright, the 35th floor. This can't be accessed by the normal elevator. Alright, that guy dropped pops. That's pretty cool. Alright. Took a few more guys out. Alright. And normally there's a guy in here. Oh, here he is. Alright, if you take this guy out, he's the guy who has the key to the roof. He will always spawn on this floor. And now we got the blueprint for the 5th floor. And this vending machine is, like I said, this is where pop cans are stored. If you shoot that, you'll get health. And pops are your only means of refilling health. Now normally, if that guy with the key isn't in that room, he will spawn when you get near that door. But that being said, we're on the roof, we're gonna take these guys out, get our radio back, and as far as I know, this is the only way to contact the police.
No fucking shit, lady! Do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
So now that we've done that, Powell should come by in a few minutes to tell us and help us. Tell us what to do and how he'll help us. He'll help us by telling us what to do. Normally, after you go to the roof, there'll be a guy there, and also C4's right there. Since my health is getting pretty low, I might as well get some. There we go. Up. That's a lockdown. Alright, for our next course of action, let's just start looking for dudes. Oh, there's a guy coming on this floor. And there's a guy on this floor already, too. Took him out, he drops a pop, and we took this guy out. Alright, 26. We're doing pretty good. Alright, those footsteps mean that there are guys on the 33rd floor. There are no footstep sounds here, so we'll just go down to the 31st floor. Oh! Heinrich to the 31st floor. And we're gonna be waiting for him. And by waiting for him, he's gonna be right there! And Heinrich always has the C4 detonator. Hear that? Someone was opening doors, and there he is! Alright, now we have C4, and we have the detonator, and here's a first aid kit to help refill your stamina, or foot power. Like I said, foot power is stamina by another name. The game is actually kind of forgiving with stamina depletion. Up, Lock 2 is down. Alright, this means that they will not be talking on the radio. And that sound? Yep, that's Powell. He's coming by to help. So now that we have the C4 detonator, actually... Okay. There's Sergeant Powell, willing to help. Oh, yeah, we'll grab some more C4, just for the sake of it. We're gonna take that guy out. Alright. This floor seems to be clear. Alright, now we can go to the 33rd floor. Now we can go to the 3rd floor, excuse me. But before we do that, get some health while we're at it. But that's not what I was looking for. What I was actually looking for is in here, the rocket. If you intend on going to the 5th floor, I would recommend getting that. Another thing to note is that if you take damage, you might have seen this, but when you take damage in this game, you will drop some items. Just gonna refill my stamina. One thing to be wary of is if you interact with the elevators, sometimes guys can be in the elevator. That's the fourth lockdown. And I went down the elevator because there like to be a lot of guys in this floor. Up. Was that me? I don't know if that was me. Okay, it wasn't me. Alright, now with the C4, they basically work like the bombs in Zelda. So you place some here and then you get away from it because it will kill you. Oh, there's a guy on the 35th floor. And this computer is blinking, which means that you can hack into it. And also in this room is 3 first aid kits. Yeah, sure. Alright, express elevator. It takes around roughly 30 seconds to get on. Oh, never mind. The elevator takes the longest to call, though. Since Pal said that there's a guy on the 35th floor, we might as well take him out. He's nearby. He's for sure near. There he is! Alright, now that we've gotten that taken care of, we can just go to the 5th floor. And you're really gonna see the waiting time. Yeah, that took way longer than on the 33rd floor. Oh, 4th floor. I noticed that it fluctuates between being the 4th floor or the 5th floor. But as far as I'm aware, there is no difference. They're basically the same floor. So don't worry if you're playing this and you end up getting, oh, 5th floor, or oh, 4th floor. There is no difference. Okay, there are dudes on the 34th floor. Okay, so, the rocket. According to the blueprint, that C right there is where the main computer is, and the X is the rocket launcher. So, in other words, you put the rocket in, then you aim it where the C is, and then BAM! And it gives you a little more time. It gives you some first aid kits to restore your stamina and even some health. In other words, if you're really aching for more time and you want a quick health refill and stamina refill, I would recommend that. And now the elevator. This is how long it takes for me. The express elevator takes its sweet time getting to you. But it's also the only elevator that can access the 4th and 5th floor. So we're just gonna ride back up to the 33rd floor. And we have a little sneak peek on the 30th floor. Okay, it doesn't seem like there's anyone on this floor. So, 13 bad guys left. Oh, wait, never mind. Well, make that 12. Oh. Wow. Sounds like there's a party going on here. There we go. 9 guys left. Okay, as Pal said, 34th floor. My only advice with aiming is that, like, try to aim while you're shooting. That's usually the best way to take them out. And since my health is getting kinda iffy, I'm gonna get some health. Alright. So now at this point, I would recommend either waiting or actively hunting for dudes. I did that just in case I need to reload. because when you need to reload, it can really throw off your rhythm. Anyone down here? Oh! Ho-ho! Okay. 6 guys left. Make that 5! Alright, we're just gonna ride the elevator down to the... Let's go with the 31st. Also, sometimes doors can be locked. The only way to open them, if they don't open immediately when you interact with them, is just simply shoot them. It usually takes a few bullets. But if you're stocked at this point, don't fret too much over it. Alright! Now we're gonna go to the 33rd. 33rd floor seems like it's a pretty popular floor for the bad guys, it seems. I don't mean to keep calling them bad guys. Also, while we're here, there's another vending machine right there. But while we're here, we can blow this door up with C4. And in here, there's... Sometimes that's health, sometimes it's first aid. So I would recommend checking that room out if you have some C4 you want to use. Oh! Well, there we go. Alright, it's go time. I'm feeling fancy today, so I think I'm gonna go to the 30th floor with the express elevator. When this final countdown begins, there are a variety of ways you can go to the 30th floor. And when this timer starts going, this is when you can actually access the 30th floor. Otherwise, you cannot. So yeah, express elevator down to the 30th floor. You can use the normal elevator. As a matter of fact, I would recommend using that. And we need to take out more crooks. Otherwise, we can't go to that door. That's where the final boss lays. That's where Hans lies. There's Carl. Nice! Alright, there's no one else left. There's only one crook left in the building, and it is none other than Hans. And there he is! Yeah, just shoot him. Just shoot him. Don't worry about Holly. You can't hurt Holly. And that's it! 4 shots on beginner difficulty takes him out. And this is the best ending. Which is basically the ending of the movie. If you do it the way I did it, this is the ending you'd get. Which is, weirdly enough, the actual movie ending. But if you do things the way John actually does it in the movie, you actually do get a different ending. It's not as faithful, but you can beat this game the same way John beats the terrorists in the movie. Real quick, I want to show a variation of the ending. That's not really a variation, or at least not an official one. This is more of a self-imposed challenge. To get this specific route and ending, though, you don't get the C4 detonator, and you don't call for the police. But here, I only took out a few of the crooks. So now that I'm on the 30th floor, every single crook in the building is gonna be barreling towards you when you're on the 30th floor. And I do mean every single one of them, minus Hans. Because Hans will be in his room. I would not recommend this for beginners, because when I say this game throws every single bad guy at you on the 30th floor, it throws every single one of them at you. You hear the elevator dinging left and right, up and down and all around. Yeah, 17 guys left, and they're all gonna be coming for me. And remember, he has more health than the other crooks. Ooh, nice. My advice for this is to just be careful. Always be on your feet and stay sharp. But again, I would not recommend this for beginners. Only do this if you really want to test your skills at the game. See how well you can manage so many guys coming at you at once. Ah. I got him. Get some pop. Alright, take out these guys, because they're being a bit of a nuisance. Alright. And more keep coming! Okay, I'm being a bit reckless now. Yep, that's that elevator. Okay, that's all of them. I don't really need ammo, because every time you fight Hans, you only go in with the handgun, just like in the movie. Oh, there's the roof blowing up. Alright, Hans. And we just take him out the same way as before. Except that time I think it was easier. Alright. Holly is safe and alive, but the crooks destroyed the top of the building. You win, game over. And again, this ending is gotten if you don't get the C4 detonator and you don't call for the police. Everything after that is up to you. Okay, one more variant to show off to you guys. This is the movie-accurate variation I like to call. So, you get this if you call for the police, but you either don't get or you lose the C4 detonator. Where's my wife? The terrorists have her! John then clears the hostages the quickest way he knows, but the FBI mistakes John's actions as the terrorist act of violence. Also, if you call for the police, you'll get a load of soda pop that will restore a lot of your life. And this is a secret boss, I guess you can call it. And jump off the roof like in the movie. The roof blows up along with the helicopter. And you just narrowly make it on... If I remember right, that's a fireman's hose? Alright. And now, because I didn't take out everyone, they're all gonna be storming the 30th floor. So once again, take out these guys. Again, it will be the ones that if you did not get, they'll either be waiting for you, or when you're on the 30th floor, they will start barreling towards you. Alright, 9 left. Now 8! Now 7! Make that 6! Okay. I'll take that. And... take him out! Alright, that's the hardest one. Ugh. I am not doing good on health. I don't think I can take Hans out with this. I only have 2 minutes. Could I restore my health with a vending machine? I'm gonna go for it. I always found the music in the elevator creepy. No, I think that one can only be accessed with... no, that'll take too long. What about 34th floor? Oh, I already got that one. Okay. You know what, yeah, let's try taking on Hans. You get to hear a bit more of that creepy elevator music. Man, what do you do if you go into an elevator and you just hear the elevator music sounding like that? Alright, what's up? I mean, to be fair, it is movie accurate that you would not be in good shape by this point. Alright, that's it! That's Die Hard on NES. This is the movie accurate ending, I think, which isn't treated with as much fanfare as the best ending. Great job, you're still intact, which we could say the same for the top of the building. Anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video, or found it useful. Hope it wasn't too confusing or too boring. I just might have sounded like I was rambling the entire time. I've never done a video like this, let alone one of this scale. If you'd like to see me do more videos like this, just analyzing a game to try to figure it out, to put it mildly, in order to present it in a more comprehensive light, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Anyway, take care, peace.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.